Good morning, Jason.
Good morning, Joe. How we doing?
I mean, your team, there's always something going on, Jason.
How great was that bye week? That was so much fun. Not have to talk about AJ and coach and fourth down decisions. That was awesome.
It's incredible. You know, it cracks me up, Jason. So players, obviously, and coaches get quoted quite a bit, and you kind of have to watch what they say, and if they say something wrong, it creates consternation. You're the rare guy that you might get more quoted in retirement.
Yeah,
you're almost in that
question.
You're in that Barkley category that it's more prominent what you say in retirement because of how big your stature is.
Well, I feel like when I would talk as a player, it was still pretty. It was big, and people wanted more of that. It's just harder to navigate that as a player, and then once you're done, obviously, this is what I do for a living now. So as people have wanted to hear less of me, unfortunately, they're hearing more of me.
Indirectly proportional.
Yes, that's right.
So good, man. So a lot to get to today. If you're just tuning in, one of the main points of emphasis of our show today, because, look, there was a lot said again yesterday, and we will play more of the audio as we move through the show, but one of my contentions is that while it's not good, that this AJ thing's been festering in some ways for 2 months, in some ways for a couple of years, I actually think, and I'm not saying it's a non-issue, believe me, I'm not, but I actually think it's not quite as big a deal as a lot of us often talk about it being because they just keep winning. I mean, it is possible that, I'm not going to say it's much ado about nothing. I would never, ever, ever, ever say that. But I will say this, with the talent on the team, with the fact that they know how to win, with Sirianni's focus and Jalen's focus, it is possible that the AJ thing isn't quite as big a deal as we often think of it as because they just keep winning. Jason, do you buy that?
Oh, I unequivocally agree. It's not as big of a deal as the media is making it to be. I think that there's frustrations. I think that in the game of football, there's constantly frustrations building up within teams, within position groups, within coaches and players, and these are things that are always that's the course of a season. That's the course of a relationship in this game. So I think it is being made a bigger deal than it actually is. It is at this point. I mean, it's been a distraction, right? I think that's very true. But I also don't think you're constantly being distracted. And especially in today's age, there's going to be media reports, people crushing this player, crushing your coach, people saying you suck. You're constantly going to be with an onslaught of distractions.
To be fair, though, AJ creates this.
There's no
we
question.
Don't create it. We might amplify it, but he starts the whole thing.
Yeah, well, I think what the players do on the field, what they say in the media, all of that manufactures the narratives that run to the media. So, and this is magnified. Obviously, AJ is the one who is making these comments, which is causing these pots to be stirred and creating this whole thing happening. But I think that obviously they had this all happening last year, right? And everything turned out pretty darn good.
Yeah.
And I wish that AJ at this point, I think vocalizing this stuff every once in a while is important because it keeps people accountable. I like doing it more in-house, but sometimes AJ, I think just his personality, he lets this out in a more open way or does it in a way that makes it more public-facing. But once it's already been stated, they're trying to get him the ball. So at this point, it's okay, what are we gaining from continually talking about this? And I think that, and AJ, knows that. I think he's just frustrated, and he's a guy that wears his heart on his sleeve. But I'll say this. He's a very well-liked person in that building. He was a great teammate in my time there. I understand his frustrations, and I understand the offense's frustrations. The game is a very hard sport. That position in particular is very reliant on multiple people. It's a very frustrating position to play at times. So I think that all in all, none of this makes me think any less of AJ as a teammate. I think very highly of him, and I think very highly of him as a player, and I think that ultimately the Eagles will be very good moving forward.
So he is a captain. He very clearly is admired. You talk about how the team, how strongly they feel for him in a positive way. But why why does it feel like it's so confrontational, and why does it feel like that might be changing? I don't know. Is it possible that the team's perception of all of this is getting to where it's like, oh, again? Like to where there's a
tipping point?
There's a tipping point. Yeah, like there's a final straw, and that was probably like an incident ago, and now everyone in the locker room. Is it possible? I don't know. I mean, I don't know if I've seen this or not, but does it feel like he's tipped it?
In regards to what
Could
and
he
who?
tip it? Well, that's the thing. All I hear
Well, John,
about
I think
AJ
what you're saying is whether they're going to want
how-
to keep him. I think what you're saying, John, because James, you brought this point up earlier, James. You think he's not going to be on the team next year.
Correct.
That it's almost got a GJ-like thing. That at
I
some
think he
point
doesn't want to be on this team next year. I think A.J. Brown does not want to be here. He is unhappy
believe-
in Philadelphia on the Eagles. Like he
And
might
you
live
feel
like living in
that's
Philly and all that.
merited, right, Joe?
What part of it?
You feel like he would. You feel like his legacy is being shorted because he's not getting the yardage and the touchdowns and everything else that he would catch.
Yeah, I can understand his
if
immense frustration.
Joe Burrow were his quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, I used this analogy earlier in the week, but if I had Charles Barkley, I would pass the ball to Charles Barkley. And if I don't, I wouldn't have a problem with Charles. As a Philadelphia Sixers fan, Philadelphia Sixers, Ruben, whoever said Philadelphia Sixers, it's either the Sixers or the 76ers, but it's never the Philadelphia Sixers.
It's not.
It's the Philadelphia
It sounded
76ers.
like you were from New York
I
or
got
something
confused.
like that.
As
Yeah.
a Sixers fan, if the Sixers weren't
Imposter,
passing the ball to
Joe.
Barkley, I'd be frustrated and say he's the right to be frustrated. But here's what makes this really unique. The Sixers couldn't have won without passing it to Barkley. The Eagles are winning without passing it to AJ. I mean, that's what makes this one, Jason, so absurdly unique.
The Eagles are winning, but I don't think that it's fair to say that they wouldn't be better if AJ wasn't having great games. Like I think you got to be careful of just saying like we're winning, therefore nobody should be complaining that there's nothing going wrong. I don't agree with that. I think that there's constantly things that you're trying to improve as a team. They're coming off of the best defensive performance of the year and one of the best in Vic Fangio's probably career. I mean, he held him scoreless till 6 minutes in the game, and this isn't like a fluky offense. Like the Green Bay offense is good, and they have their best receiver back, and Watson. Like that was a great performance by them, and that's very encouraging moving forward. But the offense was not good. Like we had a great first drive. They got the fumble at the end of it really stalled that out. But
So that's a 16-play drive, Jason. And what
hard to
was
put
the
those
difference?
together.
So you go 16 plays, and then the whole rest of the game, it felt like it was just a door slammed in our offense's face. Yeah. Why couldn't we do better?
It feels like the offense right now is a very it's either 3 and out or it's that, right? They don't generate a lot of explosives. And it's hard. It's very hard to generate those types of drives. Now, once you get those drives started, then you get that momentum. You start leaning on them. The runs that are 2 to 3 start going 3 to 4. You start getting these little dinks that turn into like a flat catch that goes for 6 or 7. But if you don't get it started, it's easier to stall out, and that's what it feels like. They're getting behind the sticks on first and second down, and some of these drives, even the 16-play drive, like they had to convert a lot of third downs there. It wasn't like a first and second down man mountain Dean drive. Like this was like gritting our teeth to get this thing down into the red zone.
Well, that's why it was 16 plays, and they were still only around the 20-yard line.
Exactly. So it wasn't, Green Bay is a heck of a defense, and this is what they do.
Yeah.
They do a great job of limiting big plays, of stopping the run, and making you grind out drives. And I think that the first drive was a great job of putting that together. But you can't have mistakes against teams like that, right? You allow a linebacker to run through and get a negative play on a run play. That's devastating on defenses that play like that. You have penalties, right? False starts, a holding call took away a first down. Dallas has a catch. I love that Dallas, if he goes north and gets a first down there, that drive might continue on, but instead they're left with like 2 yards left on second and third down, then they go get incomplete on both of those. Like, it just felt like they had too many mistakes and they were too undisciplined to have a great day against a defense like that.
Well, we'll take everyone's assessment of the situation, both, the impact on the field, which is what matters most, but also the impact in the locker room and for the organization. It is certainly complicated. We're going to play more audio of Sirianni, who was ticked yesterday, Jalen, who was very composed, trying to keep it together, and AJ, who said an awful lot yesterday. And we ask you this question. While ordinarily this distraction, and it is a distraction, would be viewed as something that could derail a season, and at times an era. John, I would say the T.O. thing derailed not only the 05 season, I would say it derailed the era. You guys were never the same. Donovan and T.O. broke up. T.O. and the Eagles broke up. It was never the same.
I also left.
So while that happened, I'm sorry, what's that?
Yeah, that was
left.
the
that might have been the catalyst.
That's probably what it was.
That's right. But while these things can derail a season or an era at times, the Flyers were never as good without Lindros as they had been with him. Now, they didn't win a title with him, but they weren't as good without him. The reality is, the longer this one goes, ironically, it almost feels, I'm not going to say inconsequential, but it almost feels like they are so conditioned to plow through stuff that maybe because of the focus of the coach and quarterback, the talent on the team, and the knowledge of how to win, maybe they can just plow through it anyway.
I think that in 2017, we were doing a lot of things that the league really hadn't figured out yet. And RPOs were one of them. We were very much on the forefront of the things we were doing, especially on the perimeter with the RPOs. We ran wham really well. That was nobody really talked about it, but we had a bunch of explosive runs off of a wham concept that teams really didn't defend well that season.
Who was your whammer?
Probably Selleck.
Yeah.
Selleck. I actually designed one of them with Trey Burton, where he would come out wide because we were trying to run it against Minnesota. And Stout and I were talking all week, and we were trying to figure out how can we get this at the nose guard. We don't want to run it at the 3. We don't want to I'm trying to remember what we were trying to do. We were trying to make sure that we got a 1 technique instead of a 2-eye that would to shrink that space a little bit more for the tight end. And we found out, if we came out with 2 tights with Trey and we set them out wide, once they got to a solo type look where the tight ends were attached, they would peg to a G. And we said, okay, let's line him up out wide. They'll play it like it's a 6-man box, right? And then all of a sudden motion him in on this fly and wham, and it was a good hit in the game. I'm telling you, I get goosed out when you design something all week, and But anyways, you're always having to evolve as an offense. And that's part of winning a Super Bowl is you're going to be doing things that teams haven't really caught up to.
Well, it's also
that's part of it. You have to have great players.
Yeah,
you have to have an outstanding quarterback, outstanding head coach, and then you're going to have to be doing something that the league hasn't mastered at defending or at stopping. So I think that for sure in 2018, those little things didn't work as well as 2017.
Right. It's one of the things I most admire about Andy, because Andy Reid is now 26 years or 27 years into this. And, John, we've seen his offense evolve 77 different times.
It's remarkable.
It is.
I don't know how on earth. Yeah, it's transformed, but there are still the basic tenets of the West Coast offense. I'm sure the language is it remains the same to for the most part. But man, he's amazing because he admits his own need to grow and develop, and he just takes from everywhere.
Of course, it took him 14 years to learn how to save his timeouts and get a play on time. That's a whole nother matter. A couple pieces of audio from yesterday. I think the 3 most notable. Something AJ said, Sirianni and Hurts. Let's start with AJ Brown. Spoke for about 8 minutes to the assembled media yesterday. I thought he did a good job in not being passive-aggressive. He actually just kind of came out and said it more directly this time, which I appreciated. And I think he says too much, and I think that causes problems for the team. But with that said, they do seem to overcome it anyway. Here's AJ yesterday, perhaps better than any time in the last couple of years, explaining his frustrations with the offense.
AJ, how do you square your situation with the fact that team's 7-2?
It's not just solely about my situation. Guys, obviously I want to win too, and I think if we're really focusing on winning and doing our job, we can't just keep slapping the Band-Aid over the defense doing their job and getting us out of trouble. At what point are we going to pick up our slack as an offense that we're so great, and that's what I'm getting at. It's not about we're not winning or I don't care about winning. All I care about is stats. No, it's been week after week, sometimes we're not contributing, we're not doing our job on offense. So you can't just keep slapping the Band-Aid over that, and if you expect to win late in the year and you think you're going to go to it at the end of the year, it's not going to happen. I'm sorry. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. You know, and last year, what it was, thank you for the ring, but it's a new season. They adapted. We have to adapt, and we have to continue to, like, get better and try to find new ways. So that's where the frustration comes in, because it's not about winning, you guys. Like, I want to win, yes. I want to help contribute as well, do our thing on offense as well. I think that's fair.
Here's what I'll say. Well, just about everybody I know is frustrated with AJ, you know, like fans. I think he's got a reasonable point. Ruben, to baseball. You were essentially a hitter. You were a fielder, you were a hitter. You play with the Dykstras and the Daltons and the Cruckers and the Dave Hollands. If you guys won every game 2-1 or 3-2, and I'm not saying every game the Eagles win, they don't score, but a lot of games they don't score much, I think those guys would have a right to say, we got to pick it up. It's not fair to Schillen and Tommy Green and Terry Mulholland if all we're giving them is 2 or 3 runs every game. I mean, with this offense and the payroll on the freaking offensive side of the football, they should be scoring more points than they are.
No doubt. I totally agree with that. And I don't have any problems at all with these particular quotes. Again, it seems like it's already been dealt with inside.
Well, I think it's dealing. I think it's evolving continuously.
Correct. But I think they've had these conversations. He said it, quoted it. That he's had these conversations internally, whether they've been with the coaching staff, you know, whomever, Tula, you know, Sirianni, et cetera, but it sounds like it's already been discussed.
It's the tweets, though, right, Ruben?
It is the tweets.
Because they're the cryptic type, they're the unnecessary type. That's the nonsense.
It's the frustration of the player, and it is also, you know, makes it a little bit more difficult on the rest of the group. To me, it becomes a little selfish because then other people have to deal with it.
Primarily the coach and the quarterback.
Correct.
I mean, John, they're the two guys every week. Sirianni more so, but both of them every week have to. Let's listen to Nick Sirianni. Very obvious yesterday. He's getting increasingly frustrated. Here's a frustrated. This might be the most frustrated I ever remember hearing Sirianni be. It's up there. I'll tell you that. It's up there. Here's a frustrated Sirianni yesterday.
When you say it was kind of business as usual with AJ, I mean, his latest comments, made it seem like it's not business as usual. Like, how do you kind of reconcile that with him?
Yeah, guys, I'm close to being done answering these questions with this. Like, he's working hard, and he is a big part of this game plan, and it'll be a big part of the game plan going forward. And he's working like crazy when he's here, and I'm excited to have him.
Rhea, that's when you know it's starting to really get
100%
under the skin.
He sort of should be irritated.
How
of course
excited
he should be irritated.
How excited was he when he heard the, soapbox diatribe on yesterday afternoon?
With the one
how
from
excited
the
was Nick when he heard exactly how AJ felt about the offense?
Minutes.
That does not help anything.
Well, yeah. So
what he has done does not contribute to this team winning in any way. And I appreciate the fact that Jalen Hurts is standing up there, also annoyed like Nick Sirianni is. And Jalen's making.
I don't think Jalen came off as annoyed.
But I think John's inferring that he is, but he's doing a better job not showing it.
He's making it clear that he's compartmentalizing this in a way that is effective, and he can get through this, and he can. I think he can help others. I think maybe he has a little more practice getting through this with AJ, being that they go back personally outside of football. Even so, I think it's possible that AJ is a very difficult person to get along with.
Albeit a nice guy that the players and team loves. But
everyone loves him, but at times it's just tough to
Jason,
figure out.
You've seen a ton in Philly sports. You weren't here for Donovan and T.O.
No, I was here for Deshaun. I was here for LaShawn McCoy. And, I think that in general, I think the media oftentimes kind of overstates this stuff. And I think that good head coaches find ways to maintain relationships and weather these frustrations from players and figure it out. And I think AJ has legitimate reasons to be frustrated. That's what I feel. So at the end of the day, it's really hard when somebody's voicing something that's like either of self-interest or something about the offense. And it's just like, that's not accurate. Like, that's a bigger concern. Like, we have players that aren't identifying issues correctly, and we're not on the same page. I think everybody is aligned in thinking that we need to get A.J. Brown the ball more. I wish that, now that it's already been vocalized, that we can kind of just get to work and try and focus on that. I think it would be beneficial for A.J.'s standpoint at this point to not say things publicly, as well as the teams. But, like, the reality is, like, self-interest as a player for me, I would get frustrated when the run game wasn't working. And the first thing you go to is like, man, like it works when I do this. And like, if we call this put and pull, like it always seems to run well. And you have to try and you go to the coaches and you're like, hey, like, what if we get a little bit more to this? They're running this underfront. This play's been there before. And these are constantly discussions you're having. And I'm sure that AJ has been having these all season, as well as Jalen Hurts and every single player on the Philadelphia Eagles. But the frustrations mount when the performances aren't happening on the field. And then it starts coming out in either self-interest of how this offense can be better with my own performance, how it can be better with others' performance. Like, this is a byproduct of the offense not playing up to the standard that it needs to.
I agree.
That's the reality of it. Whenever these types of things always happen, once the performance on the field doesn't equate to what it should be. It magnifies in losses, but the reality is, even though they're winning games, the offense isn't playing well. Outside of 2 or 3 games where they've really lit it up, it hasn't been consistent. They've been great at times, then they've been 3 and out at times. It needs to be much more consistent, and all the players know it, all the coaches know it, and it's going to continue to be an issue until that gets fixed. And hopefully AJ can stop vocalizing it publicly, but internally they should be frustrated and they should be having these discussions and they should be trying to figure it out.
I agree. Every single element we just said.
The one question I do have about this is, at some point there's got to be accountability on everybody's side. So it has to be a little bit the coaches, game planning. It has to be a little bit the player himself. Is he performing? Is he getting open? I don't watch film. I don't break it down. So I don't know that he is getting open enough for Jalen to target him more. I don't know if he's running the right routes. Honestly, I know he's one of the best in the game. Is he doing his part as well? Is everybody doing their part to make this happen? And that's where, I mean, if I'm the GM and I'm watching it from 500 feet, that's where I'm trying to figure out like who has to get this done. And to me, it's a collective.
Yes, that's a fantastic point. And I think that unequivocally, the moment it really starts going bad is when the fingers start getting pointed all over the place. And it happens with the players, it happens with the coaches. But the only way you get out of this stuff is usually like, how can I do my job better? How can I magnify my ability to make myself and my teammates better? What can I do to serve them? And what can I do to do my job and role in a more effective way? And I think that that's happening. I do. And I know A.J. Brown's accountable. I know that Jalen Hurts is very accountable. I know that Nick Sirianni, that dude beats himself up, man. And I think that that's what you want. I remember going through a loss one year, and I played terrible. And I went up to Nick, and I'm talking to him, and I'm expecting him to be like, yeah, no, Jason, you're a great player. You can. He's like, yeah, drag yourself in the mud. I'm like, I forget what the exact quote was. It wasn't in a negative way, but it was like, man, this is part of improving. Like, you have to go there, and you have to realize that you weren't good enough in this last week in order to make improvements. And I think a lot of players, like, they try and tune that out, especially like guys that mentally don't have the strength and fortitude to overcome the realization that they're not living up to their standard. And I think that the best players I know, man, they're harder on themselves than anybody is. And
well, I'll say this, Jason. That's the part of Sirianni is one of the parts I really admire.
Yeah,
like the classic American gym coach from the 1970s, who might have been a little inappropriate in some ways, and kind of barbaric. But the part of that gym coach from the 1970s that to me resonates still in society is just tell it like it is.
Yeah,
give direct feedback to the kids. and I don't want to say force them to be better, but try to guide them to be better.
For sure.
And I think Sirianni's got a lot of old school. He's got a lot of new school, but he's got a lot of old school principles that a lot of people in society have run from that I admire.
His dad was a coach. He grew up in New York, where his dad had the keys to the gym. You know what I mean? And they'd go in and they'd shoot hoops. And that's a great way to sum up Nick Sirianni's personality and who he is as a person. He's tough. He's accountable. He's a great leader. He's loving. He has all the traits that you want in a guy that's at the helm of something like this.
All right, let's give everyone a chance. Of course, tomorrow at the show, we're giving away a pair of tickets to the Eagles-Lions game. But in order to win those tickets, you got to know the names we've said as part of the contest. It's the Eagles and the Detroit Lions. And this is a game happening, of course, on Sunday. And we give away the pair of tickets tomorrow.
Courtesy of NovaCare Rehabilitation, the power of physical therapy.
All right, let's give you, another name.
And the name is...
let's go with Jason Kelce. You know why? Because he played in that Snow Bowl against the Detroit Lions back in 2013.
Man, that was a fun game. Oh, my gosh. I'm not kidding you. I think domes should be illegal.
To Elliot Short-Parks, I hope you're listening.
That's a different take.
Thank you, sir.
I know. Listen, the Eagles are not going to like that when they try and magnify the number of events and things. But snow and weather is one of the beautiful things about football, that you have to fight through those elements. And whenever you're in them, it just makes the game more magical. Even if you got a downpour torrential of rain and you're trying to figure it out on the sideline, how can I grab the ground? And it takes everything out of it, and you're just focused on this element that you haven't been in before.
So curious about how you guys change your cleats.
Cleats, yeah.
And how important that it has to be, like one of the most important things. I mean, we went through that in the Super Bowl and the playoffs, where you had
didn't go through it enough.
I'll be honest. I think,
and I saw it the other night. They had the same issues.
We had a range from a quarter all the way to an inch, and the inch long screw ins when in the tuck rule game, because the field was so frozen. They took the equipment guys took the inch longers and they sharpened them.
Oh, wow.
Into points. So it was
super
inch long. I know. Yeah. Inch long.
Throwing people under the bus right now.
So you got, I know.
I mean, that's like an 18-wheeler you threw them under.
7-inch long weapons on each foot underneath it.
And I think people I think guys now don't focus on their cleats as much. And part of it's, I think they grow up playing on turf and they grow up not being in these elements. And it's like the moment I knew the weather was off, I would try and I would go out there before, and I'm really trying to figure out what cleat I'm wearing. And even then, I'm still hesitant about it. I'm bringing my other cleats on the bench, so if that first drive doesn't go right, I'm switching out right now.
My career ended because I didn't make the cleat change.
I know we're beating this horse down, but it's the one thing that moves you. It impacts so much of what you do in every sport, like how you grip the ground and how you enforce move your body.
By the way, let me say to Seltzer and Rhea, 3 athletes in here are dorking out over cleats right now.
Well, I want to say this too.
This is the most cleat
talk
in the history.
Women love shoes.
It's really important.
I'm surrounded by 3 dorks.
And I wore a cleat that was like 10 years old, because now they make the cleats where they actually don't grab as well. And the theory is if it doesn't get stuck in the turf, you won't get hurt.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, screw off. I want as much traction as I can get. I don't want my foot sliding out like that. So I would wear like a 10-year-old cleat they stopped making. I'd have to take it to a cobbler in South Philly, Dom.
He is the best, by the way.
Dom's
Love
the best.
him.
The bottom of it, the glue would start rotting because they were so old. So he would have to glue it back together, stitch it. Anyways, I'm with you on the cleats.
Seltzer, pull that part where Jason just said screw off, because I want to play that. When someone comes after me with a comment, I'm going to start using that back at callers.
I don't think you would be allowed to.
I don't know.
Jason can say it.
You might be right. All right, let's listen to something Jalen Hurts said yesterday. I thought this was notable. Obviously, people are irritated. I think everyone's irritated to some degree with the AJ stuff, but it's a tough one for Jalen Hurts. And I thought he did a great job yesterday, I'll say, trying to reset the focus. Jalen Hurts yesterday, press conference.
Got the Detroit Lions, so I'm gonna definitely put a halt to that. I think the more we drive that, the more of a distraction it becomes. And I think ultimately it's about the group. And so things have been what they've been, and they are where they are. You know, we are who we are as a team. We're all we got, and we're all we need.
Goes 2017 there.
Yeah.
Look, it's a nice shot.
That was a graceful lane change right there.
It was.
And it was a massive switch.
Yeah. I will say this. I've seen resets before or attempted resets. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. I remember 05. There were attempts. I mean, guys, let's remember, T.O. played with the Eagles for half the season. There were attempts to, have it work. And, sometimes they spiral out of control. James, you said earlier, a caller said, and you co-signed, like, this is starting to feel a little closer to T.O. than we thought it would get.
Yeah.
It's not that, but, like, it's more than it was a month ago.
Yeah, I don't know, but, the T.O. part is a separate thing. It's getting there in the sense that I think A.J. Brown's not going to be an Eagle next year.
Jason, before you get out the door, let's just get you on the Lions and the Eagles. So, first off, I feel like it's a long time coming. 2022, I felt like the whole year you could kind of see that you guys were on a collision course with San Francisco within the conference. Yes. That game happened.
Yeah. Talking about last year, it felt like that was what it was going to be.
It was going to happen until their injuries. I mean, they would have won. They would have beaten Washington. They were such a depleted game.
Their defense was decimated.
They were crushed. So, both teams have changed a little bit since last year, clearly.
Yes.
But both teams are still outstanding and maybe truly excellent. Mm-hmm. How do you size it up? Tail the tape, Eagles-Lions.
You're right. I think that I was looking forward to watching that game last year. We played Dan Campbell, I think, his first year in Detroit.
Yep.
And to see where he's taken that team from is just remarkable because they were really bad when he took over.
They were Cleveland Browns bad. They weren't just bad in a 5-year stretch. They were New York Jets. This is one of the worst organizations in professional sports bad.
Yeah, they were bad where like all of our starters are out of the game in the third quarter bad. And they've rebuilt the trenches of that thing, and it's remarkable how quickly they've gotten this good and how sustainable it is. Like, they lose their offensive coordinator, their defensive coordinator, but they have great players. The mindset and how they play is very I love everything about this team, to be honest with you, who we're playing, and Dan Campbell. I think the Eagles actually match up pretty well with them, if I'm being honest. I think that they like to play man coverage on defense. They challenge you. I think that if they're going to do that, hopefully A.J. Brown can get some big catches, and it'll be a good week.
It's perfect for him.
Yeah.
That's a lot of times you'll see them signaling whenever they're going to be covering, like they're going to be covering. The Lions like to challenge you like that.
Now, their D-line is back and healthy. Like, they're pretty loaded up front now. Lee McNeil's back. Obviously, Aiden Hutchinson is playing really well. So the offensive line is going to have to come to play. They have great linebackers. But I just think offensively we're going to have a good day. I really do think that. I think defensively we're coming off our best performance, and they're going to need to repeat something like that. I think offensively we're going to have to put up some points to keep up with Detroit, most likely. I think Detroit will score. They're a very good offense. Defensively, but defensively we're playing so good.
How do we cover Jahmyr Gibbs? I know that our linebackers are as fast and sprightly as they've ever been.
Yeah.
But the Detroit Lions have some of their skill guys are just, I don't know. Uncoverable.
Gibbs, they're very good.
Jahmyr Gibbs for a linebacker, I don't care how good your linebacker is. It just feels like it's not fair.
I remember when we got Darren Sproles, they used to have a play with the Saints where it was like almost like a gimme, like any time they could just go to it, where it would be like cover Darren Sproles in space and give him an option. You can't be right. And Jahmyr Gibbs is certainly of that caliber. Like, he is a phenomenal player. I just, listen, it's a tall task. If we shut down the run, they like to run a lot more outside zone. They're very similar, but they're not as down-house smash mouth as they've been. They still have that mentality, but they are doing a little bit more outside zone plays. I think our front is playing really good. Jalen Phillips had a hell of a game, his first game back. Nakobe Dean is offering some physicality. I like the way we're playing up front.
Would you say that's what Nakobe brings? Would you say, it feels like he solidified things when he, doesn't it feel like he always arrives late? Like Nakobe Dean comes to the scene a little bit late and then sort of just solidifies it all.
You're talking about year 3 was the first time he played well?
I don't know. I don't know.
He's had a lot of injuries.
Yeah.
It's just like
Jacoby's unfortunately
Ruben,
had
that
a lot of
wasn't a
injuries.
criticism. I mean, he didn't do anything for 2 years, and then all of a sudden he's like my favorite player.
I
He
think
really is.
Ruben
solid.
looked at me like that was
Doesn't he-
rude. It's not wrong.
It's not wrong.
You looked at me like I had 10 heads.
Jacoby-
Not everyone hits a home run in their first game, Ruben Amaro. Let me tell you something,
I
Jason.
wish it was the other way around.
Jason, this guy
Yeah.
in the summer of 92,
Yeah.
I mean, I have
For 1 minute.
I have rarely seen a Philadelphia athlete get off to a better start than
Full
this guy.
frontal.
It was a VJ
frontal.
Edgecombe like.
It was. It was VJ Edgecombe like.
Yeah.
Jalen Phillips like.
Thankfully,
Jalen
VJ
Phillips. There
Thankfully,
we
VJ is the real deal.
He's the real
I
deal.
think.
He's the real deal.
go. Yeah, I guess I'll. Yeah, back to Detroit. You have to stop them on first and second down and get them off schedule and get them out of the run and play action, which is what they want to do. They did that at an enormous rate this last week against Washington. If they can shut down the run.
Run, play action.
Yeah, if you
can stop the run, you take the play action way down. Is Jared Goff? I have such doubts about Jared Goff.
Jared Goff is a phenomenal quarterback, but
he's not afraid to turn his back to you and execute the play action. That's for sure.
Jason, you really think phenomenal?
I do. I think Jared Goff is a very, very good quarterback. He has one glaring thing, though, that he has struggled with his whole career, and that's if you get pressure on him. And most quarterbacks struggle with pressure, but I think in particular he struggles more. And I think if you can get him into a drop back game where he has to execute that and guys can pin their ears back, that's historically been how you stop him. Put him in third and long routinely. And listen, that's how you stop every quarterback, but I think that he does become a little bit different in those situations. But outside of that, I mean, he is at reading defenses. You have to disguise things. He's going to be able to get them in the right play. He's great at executing the play action passes. He reminds me a little bit. No, I shouldn't say that. He is very accurate. He can make all the throws on the field. He's very smart. I think he's a great quarterback. I really do.
Good.
I do think. But yeah, the game plan
He's been coached by
is
some
known.
great
Tell you what, he
coaches.
lasted longer than Carson.
Well,
Yeah.
I think when
You
you're
know, it was
coached by
1-2.
Sean McVay,
Yeah.
look, you realize
Carson-
Baker Mayfield, part of what reinvigorated Baker Mayfield was going and playing for Sean McVay for 5 games.
Yeah.
And he credits him for that. I'm telling you, when you play for Sean McVay and you're an old head, look at Matthew Stafford
Yeah.
right now.
Yep. Yeah.
It really makes a difference.